So in the recovery, we did a rebuilding in a different way, and we made sure that as part of the recovery, we were doing some prevention. So I put them together because prevention, mitigation, recovery are often tied together. We also do a lot of response. But even in our response, we're people that like to adapt. Very often, people would like to see very specific response plans. And I don't write specific response plans because I never know what is going to be the next emergency. I never know where it's going to hit. I never know who's going to be available when it hits, how many people, how bad it's going to be. What we do is we build all hazards plan, which gives us that flexibility. We build ourselves a network, a framework from which we can start to work. And within that framework, we can move, roll with the punches if you want. We can adapt as we go and be ready to respond to just about anything. So response is an adaptation. And preparedness is very much an adaptation element as well, because as we've gone through various situations, we learn from them, and then we get ready for the next one. Unfortunately, sometimes we get too much emphasis on the last one. We're always prepared for the last emergency. We also need to prepare for those that we haven't seen yet. But at least we're trying to learn. We're, not sure who said it, but we're trying not to do the insanity thing and doing the same thing twice, hoping for that's different. I agree with that. We're trying to learn, and we're trying not to repeat our mistakes and then to go on. So that's, and a lot of the preparedness aspect is related to that. One of the things that happens is that there's a bit of a vacuum here, okay? And emergency managers are often caught in that vacuum, particularly if they're part-time and they're very little. We have this problem, and there's a myth also that exists, and I think the movies are not helping us. Police officers, they watch all of the CSI just to get a good laugh, because they know that CSI is absolutely off. The mark, doesn't have it. Things like that, whatever CSI puts on is absolutely not true. And I've talked to a lot of police officers and say it's the worst police show ever. So I watch disaster movies just to have a good laugh, because most disaster movies are just so way off the mark. You get these Bruce Willis and Die Hard kind of characters who will stop the disaster, save all the people, probably save a few cats and dogs along the way, and of course get the girl in the end. It's classic. The reality is that for emergency managers, that we can't do it by ourselves. It has to be teamwork. We've talked about this synergy, which is why I'm really happy to see the mix that's in this room, because we're bringing in a lot of different people from different backgrounds, different agencies, and that's really good. There's a lot of disconnects, unfortunately, that happen at various levels, and I'm going to look at a few of them quickly. The academic community. We need to link the emergency managers with the academic. Unfortunately, a lot of the academic community does a lot of great research. There's a lot of great work out there. It doesn't get to the emergency manager. We don't receive those reports. We don't see them. Or we see them. They're in a language that we can't read. And most of us don't have the ability to understand it because it's too scientific. I didn't do too good in physics and chemistry. Sorry. I became a social scientist in a way. So to me, looking at long formulas that's very nice, and I believe you. I'll let other academics check on what you. Just tell me what it means for me. Put it in a language that I can use something. And I appreciate the work, and I strongly encourage the work of the academics. We need it. We need to understand it. There needs to be more research. But if you want me to do something about it, you need to translate it. You need to put it in a way that I can read it, I can understand, I can do something with it. The other thing is that a lot of these are preconceived that they're best case scenarios. And if we do this and this and this and this, we will have a perfect solution. The problem is that I have very limited resources. And I'm one of the lucky ones. Now, I'm full-time. I work in a municipality, and my municipality paid me, and not only am I full-time, but I've got a couple of colleagues. I've got one in emergency management and one business continuity coordinator, and I've got a clerk, secretary as well. I'm one of the privileged ones. Most of my colleagues in emergency management don't have half of that, and we mentioned it. So how am I going to use this best case scenario, this fantastic idea, and go to my council and try to convince them that I've got to do this? Well, the scientifics are saying it. The academic community is telling me this is the way we've got to do emergency management. And it's going to cost so much, and I'm going to need so many people to do it. And it doesn't happen. You have to put it in a way that I'm going to be able to use it, that it's going to be translated into a way that my resources will allow me to be able to do something with that. And so, and it's funny because we talk about that, and I've had that discussion. We talk about a 100-year event, but you go to somebody in a municipal government, and you try to explain that we got to get ready for the 100-year event. Well, I say, well, I won't be working in 100 years. I don't care, So how do we translate a 100-year event into something that says, well, I got to do something today? And that's the difficulty. So yeah, I can understand, because I've done enough studying on it, and I can understand what you're trying to tell me when you talk about a 100-year event, and now you're scaring me and saying that it's going to be a 50-year event instead of 100-year. Well, but how do I translate? I go then after that to my council, to my senior management, and get them to understand, you've got to do something about it, and it's going to cost. And that brings me to the next group of people that we have disconnects as well, and that's management. Our own management, our own senior management are not ready for this. And in a way, I'm going to put a little bit of that blame on the academics again. Sorry, I'm picking on you today. But our programs in universities and colleges are geared towards, again, the best case scenarios. We're teaching, our business schools are teaching people how to run management and to manage businesses and to how to do things to become the best companies possible and to the great. And in most, I know that School of Business in Toronto has one, in their master's degree, in their MBA, has one session of 3 hours to discuss business continuity. That's all the students ever hear about business continuity. And these are the people that are becoming the leaders of our companies and organizations throughout the country. And they don't know anything about business continuity. They don't understand, they just understand a little bit, they have a little bit. And then I go in and I say, we got to do business continuity. What are you talking about? What's this? And they say, oh yeah, we do backups of our tapes, and we're okay. They have conceptions which are very limited of what business continuity is about and how to prepare. And the whole risk management is something they don't know anything about. They'll tell you how to make profits. They'll tell you how to get the bottom line going up, and how to run all of the elements of the company. But what if that's all when things go well, when things are going right? What if things don't go right? What if problems that you can't do anything about start happening? We don't train up people. They don't. And then I go in, and it's a different language. I talk about it. And I try to talk to them about the liability. We're not doing it. But how can I explain that? The next thing they're going to do, they ask me for data. How can I prove it? And I go back to the research community and I say, well, can you give me the data so I can pull it over? So this connects. We're not connecting all of that. And we're in the middle of this as emergency managers, and we're stuck. And then we put on top of that the politicians. I work for government, and one of the major problems with politicians, if you go back to this 1 in 100 years, well, a politician can't think any further than the next election, which is maybe 3 or 4 years down the road. How are you going to get them to think about a 1 in 100 year? No way. And it goes back to a little bit of what we were talking. It's a question of priorities. Politicians are pulled in so many different directions here and there that if we don't give them something concrete, something that has a direct impact to the constituents, something that can go back and justify any action, how are they going to be able to go in? It's not something they're going to put in their next election campaign. We got to give them something that they can say, hey, we've done something for you. We spent your tax dollars with something concrete, something useful. And it's difficult to do.